Hello viewers, this is our special edition, and this edition will focus on the 7th general election of Ethiopia. To discuss this matter, I joined by Mohammed Rauf Ahmed, head of School of History and Heritage Management at Haramaya University. Till the end of our program, stay tuned. Mr. Mohammed, thank you for your time and joining us.
Thank you, my brother, for inviting us on this program.
Well, let us start from your personal profile. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course, my name is Mohammed. I'm a political scientist graduate, and now currently I'm heading the School of History and Heritage Management at Haramaya University.
Well, as I tried to mention in my introduction, today we'll be discussing on the post-election of the 7th general election of Ethiopia. To begin with, the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia described the 7th general election as Africa's largest electoral exercise. What is your reflection on this?
Thank you very much for these very critical questions. I believe that this description is not merely about numbers. It is about the complexity and the significance of the undertaking and conducting an election in the countries of Ethiopia. It is such diversity and geopolitical importance and an enormous responsibility. So this description is not simply a number. Rather, it is all about the complexity that Ethiopia had been making this election, and it is an important issue. It's an enormous responsibility, right? The real significance lays in the fact that millions of citizens were given an opportunity to express their political will through a constitutional democratic means, you guys.
In terms of added value of measuring the strength, inclusiveness, and the credibility of Ethiopia's democratic institutions and electoral process, how do you see the way the 7th Ethiopian general election was conducted?
For your surprise, this election is an historic event, an historic election in the Horn of Africa, not only in the Horn of Africa and Africa in general, which is recording the historic electoral system, which millions of people are now taking part in this election. So the 7th general election should therefore be viewed within the broader context of Ethiopia's democratic evaluations. What is encouraging is the continued effort to strengthen, the electoral system and this electoral institution, which expand, citizens' participation, which different, political parties, political views has been taking part in this, electoral system. So far, however, multi criticisms are there throughout. Some political parties, but this is a very historic, event that Ethiopia recorded not only in the region but also in the Africa in general, which could be as the exemplary electoral system in history.
Well, given Ethiopia's size, diversity, and regional importance, the outcome and conduct of the election are being closely observed by domestic stakeholders, regional organizations, and the international community. So, how impactful is Ethiopia's election to the wider region?
Of course, as we know, Ethiopia's a strategic location in the Horn of Africa. Not only in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia has a strategic location in the Middle East, particularly which is closer to the Middle East. Particularly which is closer to the Red Oceans. That Ethiopia as a strategic location has impactful, particularly it is stability, it is security, it is political development, it is economic development has a great impact in the Horn, not only in the Horn but also in Africa in general and in the region in particular. Right nowadays, there is a complexity, particularly regarding to Ethiopia's access to the Red Sea, and the issue of the Red Sea, and there are the Red Sea access to the sea, and particularly the issue of the geopolitical landscape has a great impact, which Ethiopia is surrounded by different countries like Kenya, like Eritrea, Sudan, and Somalia, in having a peaceful political transition, a peaceful political electoral system, having peaceful election in the country has a great impact. Particularly those who take part in these elections are very impactful on the political, the political development of the country in general, not only in the political development of the country, but also the political development in the Horn of Africa, one way or the other, and the political development of the Africa in general.
Thank you. As I have mentioned, many organizations, both regional and international organizations, have observed this election. So, how do you see the effort of AU in particular in this election?
Um, from my point of view, the participations of IGAD, the participations of the African Union should be viewed as an important contribution to the regional democratic governance as we know, right? Mm-hmm. The involvement enhances, the transparency, and that provide is independent assets that help build a public confidence in electoral outcomes, of course. More importantly, it reflects a growing culture, right, of peer engagement, of course, among African countries, African institutions. A democracy, of course, thrives when the electoral process are open to scrutinize, observations and the constructive recommendation, right? The contributions of these two institutions, particularly the IGAD in the regions, one way or another, and the African Union in particular, help reinforce those principles while strengthening local regional cooperations and mutual accountability in general. You guys,
let me proceed to the next question. The European Union, UK, and the Japan embassies in Ethiopia have also commended the efforts of the National Election Board of Ethiopia, election workers, political parties, candidates, and the civil society actors for their contributions. What is your comment on this?
Again, I would again, thank you for your very constructive questions, you guys. As we know, whether peoples are criticize us, whether peoples undermine the Ethiopia, but Ethiopia is on the right track. Ethiopia is on a developing track, right? Such recognition is really a significant, particularly in this very critical time, because it acknowledges the collective effort invested in electoral process. One of the democratic principles is the independence of electoral board. As to the best of my knowledge, the independence of an electoral board is very important. Particularly, I wanted to extend my great appreciation to the government, that the government let the independence of electoral board, not only the independence of electoral board, particularly this government gives a very open discussion for the Ethiopian peoples, for the political parties. We can trace back to the issues of National Dialogue Commission. Just it works freely because I'm one of the commission, one of the part which participated from the very early period of times, and I see that the effort that the government invested to give a clue for the peaceful discussions and settle problems. So having those organizations, it is the recognition is a significance to the Horn of Africa in general and to Ethiopia in particular. So a successful election in Ethiopia is never the achievement of a single institution, as we know, right? It is a result of cooperation among as you said, the electoral authorities, the political parties, civil society organizations, media institutions, security bodies, of course, most importantly, citizens at a large are contributed a lot for the positive, successful of these elections. So the positive assessment is from international parties, particularly as you said, IGAD, the UK and the likes. Our partners should be understood as encouragement for continued institutional strengthening and democratic reform, of course.
Over 54 million voters were registered for the election through a hybrid digital and manual registration system introduced by the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia. The voter registration exercise exceeded NIBE's original target of 40 million voters and represented a significant increase compared to the 2021 general election. So, what does this show about citizens' participation level in this election?
Thank you very much again for this very important questions, you guys. As we know, Ethiopia recorded, some history which is, distorted history. Just, the peoples have no political culture. The political participation is very low, very minimal in Ethiopia because of, the political landscape, the narrowness of the political landscape. But however, nowadays, more than, 54 million Ethiopians are taking part in these, elections. This is very surprising and in Ethiopian history, right? This registration, the registrations of more than 54 million voters is perhaps one of the most important indicators, of course, public engagement in the democratic process in nowadays. As we know, democracy is not overnight, you guys. It is it's not simply A plus B is equal to C. It's not static. That means it is a dynamic process. It is a gradual that the Ethiopian people show up as how the political development is there in the country. So citizens participate when they believe their voice matters, of course. Their voice matters, and when they see election as a meaningful venues for influencing the futures of their country, such figures suggest as a strong, of course, a strong desires among Ethiopians to contribute to national decision making through a peaceful and democratic means. Yeah, of course, this is beyond the statics, as I have said. This goes beyond the statics. Rather, this level of participation reflects on civic responsibility, a political awareness, and enduring, of course, a commitment to a constitutional government that the government is also aware of, and the peoples are very aware in the issue of political development and the democratic governance, and they give a value for their voters, for their for their sounds. That goes beyond the issue of statics. The 54 million is simply statics, but this statics goes beyond the statics or beyond the numbers, which gives the implication to the democratic move, a democratic development in the Ethiopian history.
Well, let us talk about the role of media in these seventh general elections. As you have observed, many local and international media have been participating on this seventh general election from pre-election to the post-election till now. So, how do you see the role media played in shaping the seventh general election?
We have to divide, media into two different categories. There are media who particularly contributed in a positive side, and there are media who contributed in negative sides, which needs mobilize the people. Which the peoples are very very aware of it, how the democracies move, how Ethiopia is on the progress, how Ethiopia is on a fact on how Ethiopia is on a truth or a path on a track for the development. But a healthy democracy requires, of course, an informed citizenry. And that is where the media plays a critical role. When the peoples are, very informed about democracy, when the peoples are very, 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 very aware of it, and that, the media particularly contributes a very crucial, a fundamental, or a vital to contribute in a democratic process by providing, of course, by providing platform for debate, for particularly when we look at, in the case of media, particularly in this election, a pre-election and a post-election. And a pre-election, of course, media, particularly OBN opened, for a debate for the political parties when they are, revealed, disclose their political philosophy, their social philosophy, their cultural philosophy, to see sell their political philosophy to the society in a multi language. A media institution have contributed to a political inclusiveness and public awareness. They have not only this, but also they have enabled voters to what, to hear competing between those political parties when they are competing their ideas, because they are debating on their ideas. For instance, when there are some political parties reveal their political philosophy, their political ideologies, they are debating on media. So it contributes a lot, particularly in my life, just as one of the young guys in this country. I really appreciate, the way the media manage, particularly the competing, the ideas, the debating between the political parties, which compare, policy alternatives and make informed choices. As we know, the media is one of the key actors in international, in a democratization process. Media is one of the actors. When media there is a political parties. Those political parties, reveal their ideas, their political philosophies, their, political ideas to the people, which the peoples may select the best parties which fit to their problems, right? So media plays a paramount role in a pre-election. And right now, one of the contribution of the media is, inviting scholars like what you have been did today is one of the contributions of the media, that how the scholars evaluate the election in the country and what it looks like, the democratization process in Ethiopia, right? So media in general plays a paramount role. However, or despite several mass medias dispatching misinformations to the community, but the peoples, our people, Ethiopian peoples, are very aware of what is going on. Thank you very much.
Let me proceed to the next question. What is your message for stakeholders, for all stakeholders in this election, including what should be done after the final election result is announced?
Well, my message is that, as I have said earlier, democracy does not end, of course. It's not, it does not end on election day. Rather, in many respects, it begins it begins now. We are starting democracy. Democracy is not, ended in 24th of May. Rather, it begins. Once the results are announced, all stakeholders must demonstrate political maturity and national responsibility. Winners should govern with very humility and inclusiveness, while those who may not achieve their desired outcome should continue their engagement through legitimate, democratic channels. The ultimate objective should not be victory. What we have to always, take into account is that our ultimate shouldn't be a victory, but for one political group over another. But the advancement of Ethiopia's peace, stability, unity, and development matters. We have to give due attention to overall peace, stability, unity, and development in the country not only peace, stability, security, unity of Ethiopia, but also we have to think it goes beyond to the Horn and to Africa in general. And history reaches us that nation progress when political competition is, of course, balanced by shared commitment to the national interest.
Well, let me ask you this question: What should be the role of scholars like you, especially after post-election, in shaping the mindset of the citizens, political parties, and others?
Thank you very much for your question. You started, the journey. Just the scholars should come to the media. The scholars should, transfer their knowledge, awareness to the community, to the general public, to the mass. The people should be informed. The people should be aware of what is going on and how this country should be and has to be get stability, security, and development. Democracy, as we said, democracy is a dynamic process, as we said. It's not, simply A plus B is equal to C. Rather, it is a dynamic process. It needs a gradual process. It is not overnight. Rather, it takes, a couple of years, right? So people should be aware of. As we said, election is not simply for the sake of, a victory, but a political participation should be there. Active community participation should be there, which is one of the fundamental principles of democracy, right? So scholars should come to the media. Scholars should be for their nations, for their community, rather than simply confined into a very at a very specific location. Rather, it should be strive. It should be contributed to their national security, national sovereignty, and territorial integrity of its nations too.
What lessons should other African countries learn from this seventh general election of Ethiopia and vice versa?
Thank you very much again. As I've said earlier, as we know, the fact that we never to deny that Ethiopia in a very critical time at this juncture. However, Ethiopia is in a very critical time. Ethiopia come across with different progress, with multiple progress in terms of different economic development, in terms of political development, in terms of security development. Ethiopia records a very progressive on a progressive line. However, there is some challenges. However, there is some criticisms. Ethiopia come across with historic electoral system at this juncture. So the Ethiopia, the African countries, not only the African countries, particularly specifically the Horn regions, should take Ethiopian electoral system as an exemplary, and the leadership particularly. The leadership matters. The leadership matters. So the African countries should take Ethiopia as an exemplary, how they manage the problems, how it goes through, achieving this a very turning point. A very giant progress in all aspects, as we know. Yes, we can look at the corridor issues, the electoral system, the national dialogue. Particularly, what I wanted to stress on the Ethiopian people is that they have to impose their pressure on the utilizations and the implementations of the national dialogue and the peaceful accomplishment of the national dialogue ahead of time. After some months, the national dialogue will be held again, and we are on the final stage that the national dialogue will going to be completed. So the Ethiopian people should be and must be followed and put their pressures on the stakeholders to the accomplishment of the national dialogue.
What's expected from diaspora at this critical time in safeguarding the national interest?
From our very childhood, particularly when I was a child, We hear that, that the change may come from abroad. We're expecting from, the outside, but change is here in the country. We invite, particularly the diasporas, that they have to participate in their national issues, and the diasporas should be critically look at what the Ethiopians are doing today, what the Ethiopian leadership are stressed on today, how they bring change within that very short period of time. So we invite and we humbly invite the diasporas, Ethiopian diasporas should come look at what Ethiopia looks like today. And media, as we said, different other medias, we can say there are scandals, there are fighters, those who are wanted to misinform the peoples, but they shouldn't be misinformed, they shouldn't be mischieved and misled by those distorted minds. They have to come to look at what is Ethiopia's doing today, and Ethiopia is on the right track. Really, Ethiopia is on the right track. Ethiopia has elected its parties, and Ethiopia is going to again take part in the national dialogue. You all are invited to take part in this process. What Ethiopia is doing today.
Finally, if you have any concluding message before we wrap up our discussion, please do it.
Once and for all, I would appreciate the Ethiopian government in general, and Dr. Abiy Ahmed's leadership, his commitment to political development, to economic development, to the social development in all aspects, right? And I would appreciate the Ethiopian peoples for their resilience and unity, peaceful commitment, and strengthening for the unity of Ethiopia. Really, my message to all Ethiopians is that while political competitions are there, it's natural in any democracy. Our short commitment to peace, as we said earlier, peace, unity, and national development must always come first. Let us continue to work together and the spirit of a respect and national responsibility. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mohammed Rauf Ahmed from Haramaya University, thank you for your time and insights.
Again, I would thank you for your invitations.
Dear viewers, that's all what we have for this edition. See you next time with another program. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.